Okay, 6 o'clock, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I would like to take a moment of meditation and silence. Okay, I'm going to start the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to have our fine resident Larry start the Pledge of Allegiance today. Larry, if you'd stand up. If you stop the mic.
Putting you on the
And
spot,
I'm going
Larry.
to put you on the spot. Go ahead and lead.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, at this time, do we have any delegations from the public? Oh, sorry, I missed roll call.
Mr. Kelfie?
Here.
Ms. West?
Here.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood? Mr. Maravich?
Here.
Ms. Michael?
Here.
Mr. Harper?
And can we have a motion to approve Ms. Wood's absence today?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, we have that approved. And at this time, I'm going to ask if there is any delegations from the public. Okay. Seeing none, I am going to ask for approval of the agenda. Any changes or objections to any of the past agendas? Everything okay? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
That's approved. Okay. Next item is the, what do we have? Okay.
City officials, right?
No, consent agenda. This one threw me off because this is new since I filled in, so bear with me. So the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Yeah, is there a motion for any changes that you guys currently see with the consent agenda? Anything that you want to take out, talk, admit, is everything that we currently have in the consent agenda okay with all of council? Okay? Okay. Is there a motion to dispense with requirements of the city charter and revised code of Ohio with reference to reading on 3 different days and adopting emergency clause to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood? I'm sorry. Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Michael? Sorry, you're not voting.
I don't,
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay.
all in favor?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay. Passed. Okay, communication.
Was everything.
Yeah, communications that we have right now is the liquor permit requested for Vale Edge and a thank you letter from Main Street, Ravenna. So just to let everyone know, Chelsea, our council clerk, went and spoke with Vale Edge and checked it out. And the liquor permit request from Vale Edge is basically, it is just the renewal. So they currently already do sell alcohol there. So there is no changes there. And it's just renewing what they currently have. So any misconception that people might have had that we are allowing additional alcohol sales in that area is incorrect. Any questions on that?
Is there anything council has to do with this, or it's? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Just permission for me to send it back.
Perfect.
And we don't have to do a vote on that, do we?
You don't have to.
Okay, so that's just a FYI. So if there's really no objections to have any further discussion on that, is it okay if we have Chelsea? It doesn't require a vote, so would anyone have any problems with that? Okay, so Chelsea, you can go ahead and just send that without an objection. Let's see, approval of the, oh, we did that, that's right, okay. All right. So tonight, we invited our city official, Jonathan Bender, the IT director, to come and talk with council. So he has about an hour and a half presentation for everyone that I think will find entertaining. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Here's my nice presentation for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I submitted into evidence one sticky note. Yes. So I was told that essentially you guys just want to hear what's going on and be updated on current projects and stuff, essentially.
Yeah, any new changes, anything that this body, might help them understand what you're doing, what's new, what's going on, and if there's anything that we can do as council members to help.
Not yet, but maybe soon next year. But I guess to update you, I know we had a huge thing about fiber earlier in the year, and I wanted to let you know that project is still happening, going on. We're essentially just waiting for First Energy to give us the permitting and give us, I forget what the term is, essentially give us permissions, more or less, for being on the pole or being underground. And so those take a while to process. They can take up to 6 months, so that's more or less the delay. He wasn't sure at the onset of the project if we were going to even need those, depending on where the lines were and where they were drawn. But we are going to need those permits, so that's basically what's taking so long. Otherwise, we would have had a project and flipped over.
Could you review for us, please, what that project entails?
Yeah, so we're essentially going to switch over from Spectrum fully to Lightspeed hosting, and they have a node up in Streetsboro and Kent. They share part of Everstream's network right now, and they're planning still next year, I believe he said, is they're going to be trying to finalize getting a property so that we can do fiber for residential in the city as well. And then we'll be a part of that. So we'll be able to get bigger and better speeds. Spectrum was basically offering us, hey, we'll increase your price for the same speeds. And Lightspeed was like, we can offer you 3 and 4 times the speeds as Spectrum for the exact same price as we're paying now.
With the slowdown of the installation of the wire, do we have any conflict with still having to pay for Spectrum and
No, we're
bring
not going to be charged until we flip over.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not paying anything extra. There's nothing being sent out in that.
And were they the same group that talked about relocating possibly here, or at one time, wasn't there a business that you talked about that it was an internet provider that wanted to possibly come in this area?
Yeah, they're not going to relocate. What they're going to do is they're going to build a node. And so a node, think of a node as like with trains. You know how trains have major stops? Essentially, Ravenna would be like a major stop.
Okay.
They're not going to put the headquarters or anything here. It's going to basically be, I guess in simple terms, like an electric hookup. Is they'll put a way station here. First Energy is not centered here, but downtown or slightly outside of downtown, we have that huge power station.
Like a
Okay.
substation, just a way of
substation.
having localized network, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll basically be like that. They'll have a really big substation here, so that we'll have redundancy from Kent to Streetsboro and here. So we essentially should never have downtime unless, Lord's forbid a tornado or something, which unfortunately is on the rise. Any other questions about that? Everybody good? Okay, so other projects going on. The Windows 11 switchover. We only have about 10 machines left in the whole city to switch over to that, which is really good outside of things that we can't switch over. So the police cars we can't switch over. Engineering, so far, I haven't been able to switch over because of their CAD software. I am trying to test that in my office. I have a PC with some similar specs that I've upgraded to Windows 11, and I'm trying to reinstall AutoCAD 2019 and 2020 on there, but it's not going so great. So you guys might just be stuck on Windows 10, which I don't think you're going to care, and I don't think Gary will care. So that's really cool. Along with that, though, I did kind of set up a inventory management system that I talked to Tammy about, so that I can track which PCs I have in my office, which PCs are deployed into who, and keep track of all of those, and I can generate a report that tells me, you know, their age, when we bought them, et cetera. And I'm in the process of putting all that data in as I can find it, so that way we can have a better in-out flow of like when we should replace machines and things like that. CMI, we're trying to get finance and timesheets upgraded so that people can put in their timesheets by themselves instead of having to send them to Sarah to get double checked. You know how we still do all the timesheets on paper. So the current portal that we do have, I don't think is going to work. We got into it and it didn't really seem to fit what we want. But CMI is going to start offering all of their services in the cloud. Go ahead, sorry.
CMI?
What's it
Yeah,
stand
that's the
for?
financial software that we use.
Okay.
Yeah, for payroll and finance and all that. So we're looking at putting that in the cloud, possibly next year when they start offering payroll in the cloud. So we'll be able to get rid of some servers. We'll be able to get rid of some infrastructure internally and save money that way. So be looking for us to come back for that because that's going to be over the limit that I have to ask you for. Additionally, the QNet project we talked about with the police, I've got it all installed. I've got everything set up. I just actually finished permissions and printers and scanning all that today. I just got to wait for, Jake to get back and do his job. So that way, don't tell him I said that, Craig. I didn't throw him under the bus, I promise. But once he gets back, we'll get that underway and we'll open up a ton of space for the rest of the city because I'm sure everybody's tired of looking at red on their X drive every time they look at it. Other basic things that are going on, essentially we just got Amy just upgraded the water plant with the new SCADA system, so we just got that up and running. There were some initial hurdles and some things going on there, but we got that all sorted and it looks to be stable now, which is great. So she has a fully updated, brand new SCADA system over there, which is nice. I'm working on phone updates. So if you didn't know, the phone system did die about a month ago now, I think, about a month. But the phone system itself didn't die, but a part of it died. And luckily Nick from Kent actually had a spare for us and he just let us have it, which was really nice. So I've got the upgrades for the phone system going into place, like for the software and everything. We did a bunch of that overnight. And that's...
Does the phone system project include, we had a company that looked at a number of phone lines that we had, and they identified some that we didn't need or were outdated. Are all of those changes to those phones part of that update that you're doing now?
No. This is like the phones on the wall there. Those were primarily Spyglass that did that that changeover. Where those were analog lines. So those were.
But that's finished, that project. Okay.
Yeah, that's been finished. Yeah, so that's analog lines, like for the elevators, for like emergency lines, the panic buttons, all that stuff. Those got changed over to a new service that was like 3 times cheaper. They basically just manage it essentially. No, I'm just upgrading the phone system itself, like the internal firmware. So we're gonna have some outages here soon, but it'll be overnight and it'll be fine. But Nick was able to help me with that and look at it while we were fixing the system. We basically had a card go bad in one of the routers. And so luckily he had a replacement, which was nice. But that's really about all I had.
I have a question for you. Is CMI still used for water billing?
Yes.
Okay, I know that it was years ago. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, so Bill has there's a specific, I think it's like CMI Water or something. There's a, Mike. Yeah, Mike has some program, and then on the back end, they have a separate company that handles all of the online transactions, and then that feeds into CMI.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, I was going to ask if anybody from the audience has any IT questions that they might want to ask? Any questions?
I have additional questions.
Okay, go ahead.
You've been with us now about 2 years now?
A little over a year.
A little over a year.
Yeah.
One of the things that we discussed during the time of moving to an IT person was the amount of support that we would continue to need through, what are they called, quality IP. And we had an amount of money that we were having to continue to pay them, and we were hoping that we were going to be able to reduce that number, what we were paying them. And some of the issues were who's going to handle break fix and who's going to do all of those things. Where are we with that contract, and have we been able to reduce it significantly as we talked about prior to you coming on?
I wouldn't say like, I mean, yes, the initial contract from what it was before was reduced significantly. And then throughout this last year, what should I say? I've looked at the servers, and we've been able to turn some of them off and reduce services on QIP. It hasn't been, earth shattering. It's been probably, I would say, a couple thousand a month, which I mean, obviously.
It's real money.
Right, sure. At the beginning of the year, we were able to reduce some of our licensing with 365. They don't allow you to do that at will now. You have to do that yearly. So we did a 365 audit, and we found probably, a couple dozen licenses we could reduce, which reduces our monthly. There's been various things. So next year, what we'll be able to do is start the process for bidding, because our contract will be up in, I want to say, July of 27. Yeah. So I assume next year we'll do the bidding out for the contract. And essentially, at this point, I've found that I don't really need them for terribly too much. Or the original contract when I came on was for 10 hours a month. That's $120 a year in case I needed it. And I've used maybe, I think, 15, 20. But that was...
In the year's time that you're here?
Yeah. It was only about 15 or 20 because we didn't have as many problems as I anticipated, and there weren't as many things that broke.
Right. And the big caution, too, is that really scares me is if the event, something happens, like an act of nature where you're not here any longer, or you become ill and cannot work. That was part of the reason I felt that we were going to also continue having like someone like Quality IT.
Yeah.
IP, sorry. It just didn't sound right in my mind. That, to have them, because we've had in the past where we've had one person, and, if that one person leaves and that they're gone, you have no backup. And I don't ever want to see, because then that cost us hundreds and thousands of dollars, and I don't want to ever see the city in that same situation either. So I think part of the reason why, too, we brought somebody else on is to have the knowledge that we don't have, also to help guide us on what computer things that we need. So I think the balance of the two are very important. I don't think the intent was to ever totally get rid of Quality IP.
Right. And I
Or
don't plan-
someone like them.
Right. And I don't plan on doing that. So what I plan on doing is just lessening the services. So instead of having those 10 hours, we can probably just go to invoicing per hour as needed. Most of the time we use them anyway. I do it on project basis, and I just get an hourly for them anyway. So like when we're running lines and everything at the PD, Logan comes in, it's just a flat $150 an hour. And it usually takes him an hour or two at most. He's really efficient. He's really great. So next year when I say that we're bidding, what I'm planning on bidding out is essentially all of the services that I need, I should
Right.
say, so that I don't have to run them in-house. So like a ticketing system, remote management system, backups, monitoring, that kind of stuff. So I have some internal monitoring that I do with some applications, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the time to set that all up and update it and do that and the vulnerabilities and all that when I can just have we can just have somebody else have all that stuff.
When you said the ticketing system, I know, and I'm not sure if this is being used to its full effect, but we have talked about the ticketing system being used for any type of call that comes in to the front desk, to the secretaries that take the calls, as far as where they are required to do a ticket that goes into some type of spreadsheet of some sort so that we can actually see where the ticket, whether it's from police, fire, street department, whatever it may be, that we can see a tracking of how it gets followed through. Is that up and running, or is there anything like that currently that we have?
No. Well, yes and no. So for me personally, yes, there is. So Quality IP provides me a service board essentially, and that's how they track all of their expenditures and all of their time and everything like that. For internal use within the city, not really. We'd have to buy a different solution for that, which we can. I know that there are solutions like that. They have them in Kent, and I believe it's.
Is that what the city of Kent uses?
Yeah, they don't use the ConnectWise is what it's called at Quality IP. They use, I'm trying to think of the name. I want to say it's Ticketit. I have it linked in my browser, but nobody really expressed interest in having a unified ticket system to me.
I just think for communication, it's something that we have talked about in council to see if there seems to be a habitual problem on some things, that way it's tracked, because I think it would only serve our residents better. But that's something that Tyler and his committee would, if that is something that council would want to discuss about, that we could actually, have and use, and then where council could get a report of it every month to see what type of calls are coming in and, where it's tracked to, so that it helps us determine where we are and, if a department needs help or, to follow through better.
Yeah, and there's certainly solutions for that. Like the police, they have Right Stuff. Is that through Right Stuff? I think it is, right? Or that's scheduling. SolarWinds, that's right. Yeah, they have the SolarWinds system, which they use for their own internal ticketing stuff. So yes, there are solutions out there. If that's something you guys would like to pursue, I'm more than happy to help facilitate
I
that.
think too, a lot of times we get residents that are saying, well, I called, and then we find out maybe they didn't call, or maybe they didn't call the right number, or maybe they never got a phone call back for whatever reason. So this would be a great way to see who called. So when I talk to Jimmy, I can check and see what time Jimmy called, who he talked to, what the response was, and then, help follow up from there. I think it helps with everyone, because sometimes, especially when there's bad weather or the streets are bad or, whatever, there's a lot of calls coming in. So it would really help streamline that, and then direct the calls to where they need to be. Because maybe they shouldn't be calling City Hall, maybe they should be calling the engineering department, or they should be calling, the Parks and Rec department. So to be able to organize those calls that are coming in and get them to the right person, and then show the results of the response. So I think that's
Yeah.
I think we've all kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people would appreciate that from both like our side, the administration, just transparency for even like Amy, as you were saying, like what is the volume of each of these different categories? Like, do we have an issue that we know we deal with, but how pervasive is it? So, and also if we can find something that includes a communication style thing, so if we want to send out information that's perhaps a little bit more, not as intervaled as like the water bill, just be able to send out emails or even SMS, that kind of stuff. So just giving you some ideas for that.
But yeah, if that's something, you guys want to look into, definitely I can do that now that I'm aware.
Yeah, and one of the other things that's kind of related to this as a ticketing thing is we talked about this, I think, at our last brainstorming special meeting. But when it came to like how we're getting our things from committee for different issues, moving it in towards different things as it works through the legislative process, just making sure looking at the idea of having almost like a ticketing system, but was it approved by the committee chair to get onto the agenda? Transparency on that, because even at the State of Ohio's website will give you information on like the status of a bill, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like a civic record keeping thing. More food for thought.
Yeah, we
I'll
can
come by your
definitely talk
office at some
about-
point
yeah, if you
too, so.
Found any, yeah, we can definitely talk about it.
Any other questions from anyone on council? Larry, you do have a question. If you could stand up, we know your name.
Oh, I'm just wondering if the system the police use for, you called it ticketing to keep track of calls, could be used in other departments without additional charges.
Thank you, Larry. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thank you for coming in, and we look forward to some good ideas come in the future. We appreciate all your hard work.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, now that we're done with that, we have first reading of ordinances, which there,
We have committee reports?
oh, sorry, I skipped over, see, I jumped right over that one. Reports of committee. Committee meetings start at 6 PM on 7/14. Utility meeting, Paul Moscom, do you have anything on the agenda tonight? Or coming forth?
I know there's nothing scheduled for next week. So there would be one thing for today.
Okay. Information systems, Tyler, I know of a couple coming,
I'm not sure.
not tonight,
Yeah,
but
Not sure if we have anything for it, next Monday, but I'll double back and let
You
you guys
do.
know. Okay, so we do. Okay, yeah, it's good for that one, then I have Parks and Rec after, good.
okay. Planning, Christina?
Yes, planning will have a meeting next week.
Committee of the Whole will be Monday, 7/21 at 6 PM. Public Health and Safety, to be determined. Streets and Sidewalks, Matt?
Nothing for consideration this evening, but we will be having a meeting on the 21st.
Personnel, Tim?
No committee meeting next week.
Community Economic and Development, Ms. Wood is not here, so we'll say that one would be to be determined. Cemetery Board, Christina or Paul, anything to update?
We have a lot of updates.
Okay.
So we met last week. Rick Hawksley came and presented, and I'm actually going to pass this around for everybody to look at. He's been looking at the chapel to kind of, I think we kind of wanted to get an idea of what is it going to cost to fix the chapel? We know it's going to be expensive, but what is it going to cost? So to really go in and take a look at it. Shockingly, the windows are in great shape. Right, they're in great shape. The things that they talked about that would have to be done is they're talking about making the floor level on the inside so it's handicap accessible, replacing the roof, and then fixing the masonry around the building. There's some things that can be done in steps. The roof for sure has got to be done first because we're getting a lot of water damage and things inside of it. But you'll see when you pass the pictures around. We did talk briefly about putting some columbariums inside the chapel, but we're not sure that that's a good option, but they are talking about possibly putting some, columbariums are the new fandangled thing, Tim.
Okay.
So instead of getting buried in the ground, you purchase a columbarium, and they're those stacks, those like drawers kind of that open. So we are considering possibly putting those somewhere else inside the cemetery because they are easy to maintain. They're a good revenue source, and they would help to bring in some more money as far as people wanting to be in a columbarium instead of being being buried in the ground. But so the chapel, we talked about that. You're gonna have to tell me what the cost. Paul, come on, what was the cost? I passed around the book before. It's like $430,000
Yes.
was, I think, the amount, which I was
No,
shocked.
you're correct.
Which I thought was cheap. But, yeah, did I get it?
Between 350 and
In 430. So, and there was some interest from some private donors that that possibly wanna help. So we're kind of exploring options and seeing what that's going to look like, to move forward. Again, it can be done in steps. Doesn't have to all be done in one, at one time. But really to get that back and maintain that structure, and that structure is gorgeous. to maintain it, to keep it what it is, to keep it from getting worse, and to be able to utilize it for what it needs to be utilized for. We should be able to do funerals in there, and utilize the space. So we really are exploring that. Anything else on the chapel that I missed? I'm looking for my notes.
See, as far as the donors go, they're just waiting on a little bit of information. They want to know some extreme details before they say yes or no first. So they need to know a little bit more. And hopefully, there'll be details for them, I say hopefully, within sometime this month.
And I did reach out to Frank Semino regarding, they were talking about the private contributions, if they can be written off as a charitable contribution. Not sure how that works, so we reached out to him and waiting feedback from him. The other thing to fix was the drainage. So the electrical and the drainage were the two other things that were really super important. But really focusing on, so when we talked about the chapel, it's not adding anything different. It's maintaining what's there, keeping what's there. The walls are probably gonna have to get a little bit of love on the inside, but the windows,
They're beautiful.
they're beautiful. So we could redo the windows, like get them restored. And it's interesting because the cost to restore the windows, it costs more to move them to Akron Works for them to be restored than it actually does for them to be restored. So not sure what route we're gonna go with the windows on that, but that's some information to pass around. The other thing that we talked about was the bridge. It's been talked about for a really long time, and we need to get moving on that bridge if we're deciding what to do with that bridge. So we are going to be reaching out to get some quotes on that, to see, the cemetery has money set aside to repair the bridge. Bob asked, what do we want to do with the bridge? If we want to replace it, repair it. I think we're starting from scratch. I think the conversation hasn't been had in quite some time. It's brought back up. So I'm going to be pushing. I know I was pushing pretty hard on the bridge, so getting feedback from you, because I know that you were involved in that project as well. So the cheapest, it does not have to be stunning. It has to be usable, is my opinion. I mean,
I know Bob had one point made a good remark, like, take it down. Like, is it really needed?
Bridge.
There is no reason to have that bridge when you can walk around to the other side.
Absolutely.
Maybe a couple nice little park benches,
It was for aesthetic.
and then put the money toward the chapel.
Yes.
I just think it's foolish to spend $30,000 or $40,000 on a bridge that doesn't serve anything
Nope.
other than landscaping.
sure, and that's something that we can definitely bring back to the board and ask. I think the one, the Legion and for the Memorial Day services and stuff, they use that a lot. However, if we present, hey, what about utilizing a space in front of the chapel or utilizing the chapel, maybe they would be interested in transferring. I mean, not that they get to make that decision, but their feedback is super important because they're probably the ones that use that bridge the most or have been in the past. So, yeah, that's something that we can definitely bring up.
And the other thing, Christina mentioned electrical. Well, the reason for that is that way, when it starts to get cold, keep the temperature at a practical heat. That way, it doesn't get extremely cold. You don't have those drastic heat and cold when the chapel would be used after it's renovated. And then it would be, if decided to put AC in there, that would be 14,000 more. But the heat would be very critical, just like any building. If it's left cold and drastic temperatures, it deteriorates quick. So that's the big reason for that. And I will agree, the bridge doesn't have a real practical use other than aesthetic, so to spend that kind of money down deep isn't what I'll call a practical use of resources for that bridge.
The other thing that we talked about too with the heating was it's going to be hopefully some radiant floor heating so that it could keep the temperature in the chapel at a somewhat steady temperature all year round. Instead of, when it gets, I mean, come on, it was how hot this week and then God knows what's going to be next week. So we can kind of keep it so that we can maintain the integrity of the building instead of it fluctuating and shrinking and going back. So that was kind of explored as well, so.
Was there any itemization for what that roof repair might prospectively be?
Yeah, I haven't.
Because I feel like that would be a good first priority for that, keeping the structure safe.
That
Yeah.
is, no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that
I don't have
is the first step right there. That way it'll keep anything from coming in that shouldn't be. When I say that shouldn't be other than rain, because there are some places where birds can go in there and nest.
Birds?
Just,
There's more than birds in
well,
there.
I know that,
I promise
I'm
you
just
that.
using those as an example, that way it can, keep wildlife out.
Well, it sounds like you guys have really had a lot of discussion on the chapel, and I know the chapel really has a special place in people's hearts there. So, and I do think, it could bring some revenue in for funerals. I
Right.
think the last time I was at the chapel at a funeral there I was a young girl, so that was a long time ago.
You could
So-
certainly tell. I was in there recently.
Yeah.
You could certainly tell.
And
it's
it was
missing.
nice to have, I just remember that being the place where we attended the funeral at the cemetery. So, okay, moving on to that, if it's okay, we're going to move on to Parks and Recreation. Tyler, what kind of updates do you have on that?
All right, in terms of programs, spring soccer and softball have concluded. Summer camp has started. Safety Town took place on June 23rd, and the department would like to thank the fire department and police for their contributions and participation with the program. We appreciate that. Let's see, June 4th, Bob Dennison, the park supervisor, accepted the new Renovation Raven Award. They hosted a summer celebration and Reed Fest at City Park, and giving a special thanks to Meyer Farms once again for providing the tractor and hay rides for the event. There's also a Trail Fest on June 6th.
Okay. Anything else with that? That's it? Okay. All right, thank you for the update. Okay, going on, it's first reading of the ordinances, and we have none tonight for that. Second reading of ordinances, which again, we have none. Third reading tonight of ordinances, we have none, which then brings us to old business. Any old business anybody would like to discuss? I have somebody in the audience. Would you like to come up and state your name and talk about old business?
Carmen Lodato, 222 Madison. I was just wondering if there was an update on the master plan. I feel like it's a growing area of concern with some of the things that we have facing the city. I know that there's some polarity with what people would like to see or not see in the city, and those are kinds of conflicts that can be resolved by the master plan. But more important than the master plan is going to be the land use map that goes with it, because that's what makes it enforceable. So I know that we've been discussing back and forth for quite some time about the master plan, and I was just wondering what the update was on that.
I haven't got any recent updates. Personally, I know Mr. Finney's involved in it. He might be able to address that. I know they've been working on it pretty consistently. To my knowledge, it's not complete yet. Is it close to being complete? Bob, if you'd like to take that.
I believe they want to present it the end of August, I believe. I can send you a working copy because the things you're asking for are not in it.
They're not in it?
No.
Why is that?
Well, that's normal. Usually the master plan's just sort of like an agreed upon vision, but the next part of the process is the zoning, which is the meat and potatoes.
Basically, this plan says we need to look into all of those things.
God help me, I'm just gonna sit down and keep quiet.
I'll send you the draft at this point.
You
I'll
should
do that
have
tomorrow.
received in your water bill an invitation to come to the
the theater, I think the purpose of that is getting additional input.
When is that?
Opportunity, and that should, everybody that gets water from us should have received that. But it just came, it's only been a day or two since it arrived.
Well, I get my water bill through a text message, and then I just pay on a link on my phone.
Okay.
So we don't get
Me
those
too.
communications. I'm willing to wager there's a lot of people in the city that do the same thing. So I don't get those anymore.
I think there'll be a press release on that also, but that's this month.
Do we have a date on that we at least could say publicly so people
I
know?
don't remember exactly when it was.
23rd.
It's
This 2 weeks from Wednesday.
July 23rd.
Okay.
And it's at the theater at what time?
And I won't be here.
If you-
Okay, so it is going to be July 23rd? And what time? 11:30 to 1. And that's an odd time because people that do work can't attend 11:30 to 1. Okay. Cliff, come on up. State your name, please.
Clifford Soto, 464 Woodland Street. That's the same day as the liquor license thing, probably at the same time.
Is it the same time?
23rd?
You're right, the date, but that hearing is starting at 1.
Okay, when was it?
11:30 to 1.
I haven't got to talk to Mr. Semino yet because he
Yeah.
wants to talk with me.
Now that, what they're referring to at the theater is from 11:30 to 1, and that hearing starts at 1. So they're,
Well, can I make both?
once they start and stop at exactly the same time, which,
I don't know if the planning timing of that is good, but anyways, okay. Thank you for that, Carmen. And it's good to know that's going to happen. 2 weeks really isn't a lot of time to give people for something like that either. Okay,
Can I?
Yes,
I
go
have
right
something
ahead.
For new business as well. And I don't know if this would fall under Tyler's committee or not, but especially tonight, we've talked a lot about communication.
we were still at old business, but.
Oh, never mind
Sorry,
then.
we'll go to, all right, so, all right, we're still at old business. One thing I want to say real quick under old business, Mr. Wilmington, are you now, I see you're here tonight, and I wanted everyone to see him, and I referred to him as Mr. Wilmington because I'm not sure. Are you our new captain?
I am not, I'm just, I'm acting chief of police while Jake is out of town.
Okay.
He drew the short straw to be here tonight.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were, who took that role since Jake is the chief, if that, anything, if that was filled internally yet or not. And I thought maybe that was you because you were here tonight. So I was going to say welcome, but welcome. It's always nice to see a new face here. And so everyone knows that Jake is temporarily out of town right now. And if you have any questions, Mr. Wilmington or Sergeant Wilmington is here. Okay. All right. At this time, we will go to new business.
All right, so, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
A lot of conversation about transparency, communication has been happening. And I don't know if this falls under your committee or not, but maybe just a subcommittee that just kind of looks at how we're communicating with residents, how we're sending out emails, how we're sending out information to figure out what's working and what's not. I mean, if we have something that's working, that's great. But just to have a conversation to see what we could tweak and change. I mean, there's so much technology that's out there now. We really need to be looking at how we're communicating. There's just, it's so important. Like, even how Carmen said, I don't get my water bill, so I don't get the updates that come in the water bill. So what else can we do? Same with communication when we're making calls into City Hall. How are we tracking that? How are we, making sure that those are getting taken care of? So if we could possibly do a subcommittee, or if it's through your committee of council and maybe some administrative staff, to kind of figure out how we could, and it's not gonna happen overnight. It's just gonna be, how can we make some changes to communicate better with each other, to communicate better with our residents, and for our residents to communicate better with all of us.
And we could even hit that almost at like a department level, because I know, Bob, for your department, you're doing things for like boil notices, if they have to do things for, if there's like
Right.
possible contamination for water and stuff during service work or something, or hey, there's going to be a shut off. Like, I know they came to my neighborhood a while back, I think it was late last year or early this one. But it was like, hey, here's a hanger on your door. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we know when this work was gonna happen. It would have been nice to know, and more than like 20 minutes before the work was happening.
Well, aren't we still, Tim, aren't we still using the text message in the email system?
we are. Yeah, we
If
still-
folks sign up
People
for
gotta
it.
sign up for it.
But I also think that's part of the communication. We need to let residents know about that Civic Ready and
the
how it
ballot.
It's on our
works.
website. I mean, it's all over our website. I mean, we put it in the water bills, we put it, as much stuff as we can get out there, we do that.
I hear you, but that's still not working.
Yeah.
So what can we look at to try to make it so we can educate our residents so they can get signed up? Because not everybody looks at the website, not everybody looks at their water bill, so how else can we handle it? And there might not be an answer to it, Tim, there might not, but to be able to look at it, to be able to make sure we are as effective as we can communicating, and the same with residents communicating back with us. We need to hear their feedback. Sometimes it's nice to hear the good things too, not just the, not just the crummy stuff, so, that's all.
Chelsea, do you have access to website to council's page, correct? So if anything that council wants to put on our website, on our page, you're able to do that? So some of that I think definitely needs to be changed so that, for council, anything we need, we should be going through Chelsea, I think. And she should, I don't know who sets up that access, but I think that right there is number one, because, you work for us, and we need to utilize you more than we need to utilize the front office. And I think that would help a lot of the miscommunication and the runaround circus, as if we're dealing with our own secretary. And Chelsea has the capability to put stuff on the mural, put stuff on the website, and then it's not being, on one person. We can deal with Chelsea.
Well, and I think too, so Full Spectrum Media manages our website. Maybe even looping them in at some point to what we can change. Like, I know, I've said this at council before, I've done the contact us on our website, and guess what? Nothing happens. So we need to figure those loops out, to figure out how to make that more streamlined and more organized, more transparent. And it could be something so super simple, and we're just missing it. So it's just sitting down and having that conversation to see what little tweaks we can make.
Yeah, and there are tools too, because sometimes we'll link offsite to other things or even to references like a document. But there are tools that check an entire website to see where the dead links are, so it's kind of like weeding the garden. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, these resources aren't there, either we want to, we have to go fix it, or we don't need that page anymore for that purpose. But even committee assignments, I believe, aren't up to date based on the last assignments.
Yeah.
So Tim, who would set up Chelsea so that she's able to utilize that? Would that be
That'd be IT.
IT? Okay.
So could we possibly put that on your agenda? To just have a communication discussion, let's see what we need to do. And maybe we need to reach out, and Tyler, if you want to do it, or if I can do it, just reach out to administration, say, hey, what would you like to see? Just to get some feedback from those that are actually working with it, to see what we would like to see to change communication. I mean, just the mere fact that we're doing paper timesheets right now is still kind of, is crazy. So what can we be doing that's going to be more of a time saver with the technology that we already might even have?
And I think for even the stuff that we have that we can send things to residents through texting and email, I think that we really may not have done the best job in saying, hey, here's all the things that are inside of it. So whether or not you have a shut-off that might be impacting your neighborhood, what are all those different things, or here's great reasons to sign up for it. So I'm not sure if we've telegraphed that well too, but again, we can weave that all in.
Yeah.
Okay, any other new business from anyone on council? Okay, I'm going to have remarks, President of Council remarks. So tonight, that's me, and I do have a couple remarks. First of all, I just want to say how much I really appreciate looking again at our flowers in the downtown area. They are absolutely stunning. But I do want to say I am really proud that the mayor took a stance and is really working hard on cleaning up our downtown. Over the this last week. Without getting in too much detail, I think he reached to where enough is enough. And, you know, I feel that if we do not set higher standards of what we want in our downtown and show that when people start taking advantage of our downtown, there's things that are going to happen. And, you know, I feel that we have to get ahead of the situation, whether that means, and I know the police have done what they could do on some of the situations that we are having some loitering, we are having people that think the courthouse lawn has become a party central station, and it's not allowed. And, you know, some of them don't even care if they get tickets. And, you know, we're using our manpower, and I'm glad, though, that they are writing tickets, and I know at the same time it feels like it's useless because they don't care. But again, it's setting an example that it's not allowed. You're not allowed to drink on our streets. You're 40 ounces, and we're not going to tolerate it. You know, we want more of our downtown, our street crews, our Main Street. They've all worked hard. Our citizens have worked hard trying to clean up our downtown. And the trash that has been left behind, I can't stand it. I know people, the businesses don't like it. And that's not a reflection of the Ravenna that I want people to see. And I want to say thank you to the mayor for taking a stance, and we have to all work together. When we see something, say something. If we want better in our community, we all have to work together as council people, as employees, as residents, and we have to show them if we see our downtown in disarray or people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, we have to speak up. We have to go to the right person, and whether we feel like we're bothering them or not, we just all have to work together, because I will not see our downtown turn into some of these other bigger communities, because I feel, you know, we are a very welcoming community that cares. We do what we can to try to help when we find people in disarray or situations that might not be favorable. But again, when you start to disrespect our downtown and our area where our residents, you know, feel safe or want to come and congregate, I have a problem, and I'm not going to allow it. So I want to clean downtown, and I want to save downtown, and I just want to, I'll leave it at that. So I'll start with Mr. Harper. I know you've been out and about all over creations, and you're back to reality. I'll let you see if there's anything you'd like to share.
I don't have any additional comments this evening. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, no comments
No.
this evening.
Maybe, are you sure there's something you don't want to say?
No,
I think
Siri
there's
has
something
additional
that somebody wants to say and all that. Chelsea, do you have any comments? No? Are you sure? Okay. Yeah, Chelsea does a lot behind the scenes that I don't think everybody recognizes, and maybe out in the area, and her voice is very important, so I wanted to recognize her tonight. Paul?
Yes, I do have a few things. I just have to back you up with what you said, because I believe those standards need to be a bit higher than they are. I'm not saying things aren't tried, but you just need to stay with it and not hesitate to go to whoever it's needed if something is being done that, I'll say, isn't proper. And I'll say, even if it's outside of the middle of town, just anywhere, of things to just improve in areas rather than, I won't go into detail, but of some things that have happened. I'll just leave it at that part. And I've heard, I'll just say several compliments, they're very positive, about how the flowers have been taken care of, watered every single day of the week, and mainly because we've had who knows how many days in the 90s thus far And so I just wanted to mention that. And then on Thursday, 3 days from now, there's going to be a concert by the DB Band, sponsored by Hometown Bank over here in front of the courthouse. That starts at 7. I haven't seen too much advertisement for whatever reason. I won't even speculate on that because that would not be proper. And I believe, I can be corrected, they do music from, I thought it's 60s, 70s, somewhere in that era. And I had the opportunity to attend 2 of the summer concerts at the library in May and June. And there wasn't a lot of attendance. I believe that probably because it was, I believe both were on Mother's Day and Father's Day, but that could have been a reason. But anyway, it was nice that that was done. And thankfully, there was no rain at either event. But, yeah, those are, I want to make sure that was it. Yeah, I believe that's it for this evening.
A couple comments. I was very happy to see the report that was brought to us by the Cemetery Committee about the chapel. This is a project that we have talked about for a while, and it's a project that we say needs to be done. If we've got Rick Hawksley has done an excellent job on looking at what needs to be done for rehabilitation and renovation. We've got a dollar amount of $430,000. I very much say that I think we should work hard to do this without due delay. Figure out where we're going to get the money from, how we're going to do it, and it's a real resource, historically significant building, one that can be used in the future, and I give my full support for us going full speed ahead on working to get that done. It's $400,000. You know, let's figure out how to do it. Let's figure out how to put that in place, and it's going to be really a good project. So really, thank you for the report. We look forward to that, and something I hope we can do with all due speed. Speaking of construction or renovation or whatever, remember a couple months ago, the fellow from Wells Fargo came in and talked about a new house that was going to be built because a house that they had that was condemned, they were going to tear it down and build a brand new house. That house is up. If you drive over there on Highland and look at it, corner of Highland, is it Highland and Prospect or Highland and Walnut?
I think it's
Prospect.
Prospect.
Yeah.
Prospect, yeah.
A brand new house in an existing neighborhood in Ravenna, that's a wonderful thing. And that came to fruition in just a few months' time. So it's wonderful to see that. And just wanted to mention that that's something that they talked about doing, and they did it in short order. It was a great, great thing. And that's all I had.
Thank you for bringing that up, Tim, because that, I would love to see more of that. A lot of these dilapidated homes, I think that is a way to get affordable homes that are reviving neighborhoods. That is priceless.
Great to see it.
Absolutely. Christina?
I just wanted to add to what you said about the cemetery stuff. I am going to the township trustee meeting tomorrow night to get to see what they have to say and to get their feedback to see if we're going to be on the same page with this. It really needs to get moving. I agree. I think that it's something that we need to work on. The other thing that I would like to see moving forward, and I just sent an email to Tammy today, is scheduling the safety building subcommittee meeting again so that we can start moving those forward as well. We don't want to drop the ball on that. Our safety forces need some facilities that can meet our community's needs, so we're going to start scheduling for that. So.
Chelsea did have something to say. She did give us in our packet, a save the date, and this is a year away, but I'm putting it out there just ahead of time. If anybody would like to be involved in this, I know we have some new residents in the community who, might want to get involved, and some residents who've been here for a long time that would, I think, provide some great knowledge. But next year, it's save the date for America's 250th anniversary. So the city of Ravenna saved the date, and it is America's 250th anniversary. And it says, join us to celebrate America's anniversary with a community picnic, Saturday, July 11th, from 11 to 3, and it's 2026, so it's next year on the courthouse lawn. And please reach out to Chelsea if you would like to get involved. You can reach her by our city council phone number or by her email. But sounds like a lot of fun, and I'd like to see maybe some fireworks again, because that was a big hit last time. That I know Mark's looking like, oh, no, please. But the city of Ravenna really liked that, so that was really, really fun. So anyways, on that, I will quit talking because I have a mic in front of me. And I'm going to turn it over to our mayor, Mr. Frank Seaman.
Well, the first thing is, I do get a lot of comments about our people that work for the city. I cannot make a trip to the grocery store without 2 or 3 conferences when I'm there, and it's not all unhappiness.
Nope.
There's a lot of people happy with the way things are going. But I think that, generally speaking, as a nation right now, it's in to be aggressive, and your voice counts, but our neighbors doesn't. And we try not to run like that here. Chris Craycroft is looking at the possibility of getting a grant to purchase that property that will cut into the Crystal Lake. She's asked for permission to go onto the property just to look at it. I also have a note here that somebody, or more than somebody, on council, she said that she got the word that the council people would like to be involved to go when she goes to look. She'll be glad to, if council people want to come with her, that's fine. They're still trying to get us to the point where they would take over the lake, but the water rights would remain with the city of Ravenna. But irregardless, if they go ahead with the grant to get that, they're a factor in a portion of the lake with that. If any council people are interested, I have not called her back about a date or anything because I wanted to talk to council before I did that. But let me know, and then I will schedule her around differently. We also have a request from a professor at Kent State who would like to do a research project at Crystal Lake. There was one done about 12 years ago, and what they're interested in is studying the algae and its growth during the summertime. I would like to allow them to go ahead and do that. I think it's good data that we can get, and it's another look at the lake to help us make decisions about it. I'm pretty staunch and with the fact that I don't want to see this become a huge place that a lot of people go to, because the wildlife that is in that area and in the water is rare.
And protected.
And could easily be ruined with overuse. at the lake. But if any of you want to do that, please let me know. I want to get back to them quickly. Is there any objection to us allowing the Kent State people to go ahead with their, okay?
I don't have a problem with Kent State.
That part I'm in favor of.
Okay, well, we'll give them the message tomorrow. They can go ahead then. I think that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Was one other thing. I can remember not that long ago that the estimate on repairing the chapel was between $100,000 and $200,000.
Which is why we need to get it done soon, so that we don't see another chump like that.
Well, I think if Jack Schaefer had not passed away, our problem would have been solved. He's a great fundraiser.
Okay, nobody else? Okay, I'm going to adjourn at 7 PM, and the next council meeting will be August the 4th.
I'd like to make a motion
And-
to formally adjourn.
I'm too excited.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.